Hello, students! Today, we are going to dive into a chapter that is happening all around you every single second, chemical reactions and equations. Now, forget all those boring textbook definitions. We're going to see the real chemistry, the magic that happens in our everyday lives. I promise by the end of this, you will see this chapter in a completely new way. So, have you ever actually wondered about these things? Why does a hot Fulco puff up like a balloon? Why does that shiny new iron gate get that brown rusty coating after the monsoon? Well, the answer to all these little mysteries is chemistry, specifically a process we call a chemical reaction. And it's not just in some fancy lab, it's happening right now in your kitchen and even inside your body. Okay, so here's our plan for today. This is our roadmap. We'll start with the absolute basics, then learn the secret language of chemistry. After that, we'll do some balancing, meet a whole family of reactions, and finally look at a very special pair. Cello, let's begin. Right, section 1. What is a reaction? Before we get into all the complicated stuff, we need to be absolutely crystal clear on this one basic idea. At its heart, what is a chemical reaction? It's very simple, Beta. Just think of it like cooking. Let's say you're making a chapati. You start with your ingredients, atta and water. In chemistry, we call these the reactants. Then, after you cook it on the tava, you get a chapati. This is your product. Now think, is the chapati anything like the original atta and water? No, it's a completely new thing with totally different properties. That permanent change, that is a chemical reaction. So how can you become a chemistry detective? How do you spot a reaction happening? Well, you have to look for clues. There are 5 main clues. You might see a change in color, or a change in temperature. Maybe the test tube gets hot, or it gets cold. You might see bubbles. That's the evolution of a gas. Sometimes a solid suddenly appears out of nowhere in a liquid. That's called the formation of a precipitate. Or you might see a simple change in state. If you see any of these signs, you can be pretty sure a chemical reaction is taking place. Okay, moving on to section 2. Now, can you imagine writing magnesium powder reacts with oxygen from the air to produce a white powder of magnesium oxide every single time? It's so long. That's why scientists, they came up with a shortcut, a secret language for chemistry. So let's learn how to write these equations. So the first step is very simple. It's a word equation. You just write the names of the substances. Magnesium plus oxygen gives you magnesium oxide. It's clear, it's easy, but it's still a bit too long. We can do better. And this is where the real magic happens. To make things much shorter and scientific, we use chemical symbols. So instead of words, we write their formulas. Mg for magnesium, O2 for oxygen, and MgO for magnesium oxide. See? So much neater and faster, right? This is the proper way to do it. So, section 3, the great balancing act. Now listen carefully. Just writing down the symbols is not the end of the story. Oh no. There is one very, very important rule we must follow. It's a fundamental law of nature, and it applies to every single reaction, no exceptions. And this is that law, the law of conservation of mass. What does it mean in simple words? It just means you can't create matter out of thin air, and you can't make it disappear. The atoms you start with have to be the atoms you end with. They can just rearrange themselves, like building a new model with the same Lego blocks. But you can't lose any blocks, and you can't find new ones. Our equations have to show this. And this is exactly why we need to balance our equations. Look at the unbalanced one here. On the left side, we start with 2 oxygen atoms in O2. But on the right side, in MgO, there's only 1. Where did the other one go? It can't just vanish. So to fix this, we add these big numbers in the front, called coefficients. Look at the balanced equation now. 2 Mg on the left, 2 Mg on the right. 2 oxygens on the left, 2 oxygens on the right. Perfect. Now the law is happy. All right, let's move on to section 4, a family of reactions. Not all reactions are the same. Just like in a family you have different people with different characters, chemical reactions can be grouped into different types based on what they do. So let's meet the family. First up, we have the combination reaction. Now, the name itself gives you the biggest clue. This is where 2 or more simple things combine to form one single, bigger product. Just think of 2 friends coming together to form one strong team. That's a combination. And what's a delicious example from your own kitchen? Paneer tikka marinade. You take so many ingredients, right? Paneer, curd, haldi, mirchi, all the masalas, and you mix them all up. What do you get? One single final marinade. So many things becoming one thing, that is a combination reaction right there. Next, we have the complete opposite, the decomposition reaction. And again, the name tells you everything. To decompose means to break down. So here, one single big compound breaks apart into two or more simpler things. Just think of a pressure cooker at home. You put one thing inside, water, you supply heat, and what happens? The cooker whistles and steam comes out. So one substance, water, is breaking down to produce steam. This is a great picture of decomposition. One big thing breaking down because you give it energy, like heat. Now for a more competitive one, the displacement reaction. In this reaction, a stronger, more reactive element comes along and literally kicks out a less reactive element from its place. You must remember this key word, displaces. It means to push someone out and take their spot. Imagine the selections for your school cricket team. A new player comes, and he is a brilliant batsman. He might take the place of another player who is not performing as well, right? He displaces the other player from the team. It is exactly the same in chemistry. The stronger, more reactive element always wins and takes the place. But what if it isn't a competition? What if it's more like a polite exchange? Well, that's what a double displacement reaction is. Here, it's not one element kicking another out. Instead, two compounds just swap partners. They exchange parts to form two completely new compounds. The perfect example is from Diwali. Your family goes to your neighbor's house with a box of gulab jamun. They, in turn, give you a box of kaju katli. You see, there's an exchange. Each family gives something and gets something new in return. That is a perfect double displacement reaction, a simple swap. And finally, our last major topic, Section 5, oxidation and reduction. Now these two, they are a special pair, a jodi. They are like best friends who are always together. You will never find one without the other. So what's the definition? It's very easy. Oxidation is the gain of oxygen or the loss of hydrogen. And reduction is just the alta, the exact opposite. It is the loss of oxygen or the gain of hydrogen. Now for your exams, I'll give you a super trick to remember this. Just remember the phrase oil rig. Oxidation is loss of electrons, reduction is gain of electrons. Very, very useful. And because this jodi is always together, we give the entire process a special name, a redox reaction. See what we did there? We took red from reduction and ox from oxidation, and we joined them, redox. And these reactions are absolutely everywhere. The rusting of your gate is a redox reaction. The battery in your remote control works because of a redox reaction. Even the way our body gets energy from food involves redox. Phew, that was quite a lot of information, wasn't it? But you all have been fantastic. So now for our final revision, let's just quickly go over the most important takeaways from today's session so that everything is locked in your mind for your exams. So what are the most important points to remember? First, reactions take reactants and make totally new products. Second, the law of conservation of mass is the boss. You must always balance your equations. Third, remember the reaction family: combination, decomposition, displacement, and double displacement. And finally, remember the ultimate pair: oxidation and reduction always happen together in a redox reaction. If you can remember these key points, Beta, you have mastered this chapter. And before you go, I have a little bit of homework for your brain. Think about the food you eat. To get energy, your body has to break it down into smaller, simpler pieces. So based on what we learned today, what type of reaction do you think digestion is? A very big food molecule is being broken into many smaller ones. Give it some thought. That's all for today, everyone. Thank you so much for joining, and study well.
फ्यूचर का टाइम आ गया है, ब्रांड प्रमोशन का नेक्स्ट लेवल। वेलकम टू नेक्स्ट जेन प्रोमो। आज का मार्केट डिजिटल है, कंपटीशन भी क्रिटिकल है। सिर्फ प्रोडक्ट से काम नहीं, प्रमोशन होना विजिबल है। हम लाए स्ट्रैटेजी स्मार्ट, क्रिएटिव विजुअल्स, पावरफुल स्टार्ट। ब्रांड को मिलेगी स्ट्रॉन्ग आइडेंटिटी, मार्केट में बनेगी ऑथोरिटी। नेक्स्ट जेन प्रोमो, नेक्स्ट जेन ग्रो। ब्रांड को मिले फ्यूचर का बूस्ट। नेक्स्ट जेन प्रोमो, स्मार्ट प्रमोशन, डिजिटल वर्ल्ड में स्ट्रॉन्ग पोजीशन। स्टार्टअप हो या बिजनेस बड़ा, हर ब्रांड को चाहिए नया पड़ाव। स्टोरी टेलिंग से इम्पैक्ट क्रिएट, ऑडियंस कनेक्ट, दैट इज ग्रेट। वीडियो एड्स, ब्रांड इन्फ्लो, हर प्लेटफॉर्म पे ब्रांड को ग्रो। नेक्स्ट जनरेशन मार्केटिंग प्लान, यही है सक्सेस का न्यू स्कैन। नेक्स्ट gen promote, don't just promote, promote smart, promote next gen।
आज के समय में सिर्फ रिज्यूमे बनाना काफी नहीं है। जरूरी है कि लोग आपको समझें, आपकी स्किल्स को जानें और आपकी कहानी सुने। आज सोशल मीडिया पर जो दिखता है वही बिकता है। इसीलिए हम लाए हैं रिज्यूम एक्सप्लेनेशन वीडियो सर्विस, जहां आपका रिज्यूम ये प्रोफेशनल तरीके से ये आसान भाषा में समझाया जाता है। दिखो, इससे बनती है आपकी करियर रेपुटेशन और मजबूत होती है आपकी सोशल रेपुटेशन। जब आप अपना रिज्यूम वीडियो सोशल मीडिया पर शेयर करते हैं तो लोग आपको सिर्फ नाम से नहीं, आपकी काबिलियत से पहचानते हैं। क्योंकि आपकी पहचान मायने रखती है। क्योंकि आपकी पहचान मायने रखती है।